Welcome to our tutorial about view state security. First, let's run our program again. The page loads, and let's take a look at the source code. What I want to point out here is the length of the view state string. Let's stop and go back to our code page. Let's comment out this code here. I'd like to avoid having to store this value in view state. Let's run our program again. Right-click, View Source. As you see, the length of the string is significantly shorter now. This string might look like some kind of secret code, but in reality it's not. View state information is simply compiled together and put into a 64-bit string. Basically, a string acceptable to an HTML document. Of course, the more information you put in the view state, the longer the string will be. For an experienced hacker, it's not difficult to retrieve information from the view state. You can make data more secure in two ways. One way is to use a hash algorithm. The second is to use encryption. Let's learn about Hashcode first. The ASP.NET engine has a cryptographic key. It's used to shuffle the data in the view state string. If the data in the view state changes, ASP.NET ends up with hash code that doesn't match. It'll reject the post back altogether. Now, the problem here can be that if you are using more than one server, and those servers have different cryptographic keys, you might end up with some issues. Let's learn how to disable Hashcode. Go to Web Config. This file stores fundamental configuration settings. Basically anything from custom error messages to security settings. Web.config uses a predefined XML format. Here we're looking for the system.web section. We'll be looking in the page element of the system.web element. If you're not familiar with XML, you'll at least notice that it's structured in a hierarchy. For example, the assembly starts here and ends here. Inside is the compilation, which starts here and ends here. Same thing goes for the page elements. It starts here, and it ends right here. To read more about pages, you can simply highlight and then press F1 on your keyboard. This will bring up the help files. We're interested in the Enable View State MAC attribute. It's set up with a Boolean value of true or false. Let's scroll down for more info. Here's the Enable View State MAC attribute. The default, as you see, is set to true. Let's insert our attribute into the web.config file. We'll just right-click and paste. It's relatively easy to modify the web.config file. However, especially from the beginning, it's a good idea to keep a clean copy of this file to get back to in case when you mess around with it, you cause some trouble. At this point, the view state information can be retrieved by the user. To encrypt the view state data, we can use the view state encryption mode. As you see from the help file, we've got three choices: always, auto, and never. Always means that the view state is always encrypted. Auto means that the view state is encrypted if a control requests it. Never means a view state is never encrypted even if a control requests it. We can place the view state encryption mode element into the web.config file or onto the individual page. And a couple final words about encryption. Don't use encryption if you don't really have to, because it slows down your server response. After all, the server has to encrypt and decrypt every postback. One more thing about the web.config file. If you want to manipulate the web.config file, go to Website and select ASP.NET Configuration. This gets you to a website administrative tool. It takes you to a page where you can configure your current web project. After you've made changes, the website administrative tool will generate code, and it'll add it to the web.config file. This concludes our tutorial on view state security.